From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. I've had the privilege of knowing Erin McLeod, CEO of the Senior Friendship Center in Sarasota, for at least a decade. Her leadership at the nonprofit, which helps seniors live well and age gracefully, has been exemplary. Many in Sarasota know her for that role. But what many do not know is how much Erin does behind the scenes to build up, train, and inspire leaders in the community. The Business Observer writes about top-notch leaders like Erin every week in print and online. To read those stories and more, subscribe to the Business Observer. Go to businessobserverfl.com to sign up. Hello, and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Erin McLeod, president and CEO of the Senior Friendship Centers in Sarasota. Erin, welcome and thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
We're going to get to know the Senior Friendship Center, get to know you a little bit and your leadership career. Before we do that, let's get our audience to know you a little bit better with these three totally random, rapid fire questions. Okay. We're gonna go high tech. The first one. What have you used AI or Chat GPT for in the past week?
Just today, preparing for a board retreat for next week. And I was looking for a way to bridge presenters and roundtable discussions into activities. And so I just asked ChatGPT, how would you do that? And I got, you know how AI does. I got just a wealth of data points, factoids, questions I could ask, suggested activities. And I said, that would have taken me hours. And I did it in a minute.
Nanoseconds. Love it. All right, that's a good use for it for sure. We're going to totally switch gears onto something else. What or who or what act? What was your first concert?
Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand Funk Railroad. Where was that? That's awesome.
One Civic Center, where that was Mecca for a lot of performing rock and roll bands back in the 60s and 70s. And they played, what was their number one? They had, We're an American Band. We're an American band.
Yes.
And some kind of wonderful, yes, you.
Oh, that was there. Okay, yeah. All right, I love it. Good stuff. Excellent. Okay, last rapid fire question. I think it's interesting to me. I'm curious on all the answers, but because you're so identified and so amazing at what you do at Senior Friendship Centers, what's your dream? Obviously, this is your dream job, but what's your dream job if you weren't doing this job right now? You could do anything in the world. You could be a cruise boat captain, anything in the world. What would that be?
A toss-up, and this is so rando. I would either be a park ranger and maybe just work, because I love to be outside, and when I'm not working, I'm outside. Or I would have been a physician, because I love medicine, and I love to diagnose and prescribe to all my family and friends. So I'm kind of like the family witch doctor.
Got it. Dr. McLeod. All right. Well, I would certainly go see you, Dr. McLeod. That's awesome. All right. So Senior Friendship Centers, tell us kind of what, for those who don't know what that organization is, what is sort of the elevator pitch? What does Senior Friendship Centers in Sarasota do?
We'd like to say we bring joy to seniors of all ages. And we are all about building a community of vibrancy through wellness and connection and enrichment. And we talk about throughout the journey of aging, because we try to catch people early on and coach them so they are prepared as they travel that journey. But we serve a pretty large region, of about the size of Puerto Rico. And we have probably 10 to 15,000 people in our services. So it's direct service, it's indirect service through communications, and then it's the families. So there's some ripple effect there to what we do. We do meals, home delivered meals and social dining sites, big senior centers, adult daycare programs, and then we do a lot of in-home services. It's very much like a big iceberg, and what people see is the tip of the iceberg, but a lot of what we do is out in the community, helping seniors age well in community.
Yeah, you guys do a tremendous, amazing job of that. And something I was surprised to learn is just because in my mind, I see the facility, the buildings, the centers basically, near Selby Gardens in downtown Sarasota. But you guys cover not just downtown Sarasota. What's the geographical sort of reach of senior friendship centers?
We all of Sarasota County, so Sarasota all the way through Venice down to Inglewood, Charlotte County, DeSoto County out to Arcadia, and then Lee County. Lee County's really spread out, lots of burgs, including Fort Myers and Cape Coral and beyond. Yeah.
How did you get into this? Well, two-pronged. How did you get into this particular line of work? And I believe you were in hospitality before this.
I wasn't before that. I was in healthcare. My background is in public relations. I was always a communications person, did a lot of PR marketing kind of stuff. And I worked out on Longboat, doing club and hotel resort marketing. And then I was a director of membership out at the Key Club. And I did that work for about 10 years. And then someone came to me and said, would you go and interview for this position that I'm recommending they add to their portfolio at senior friendship centers? Just do it for me as a favor. And I said, sure. So I came over and I interviewed for the job as a favor. I think she was trying to get them to understand what having a director of communications could do for the organization. And so I met the CEO at the time. His name's Bob Carter. And I fell in love with this mission. I loved him. I loved his presence. He was just a really special, funny guy, but really smart. And I said, I came to this interview as a favor to somebody, and now I'm going to tell you I want the job. And he said, this position isn't in our budget for this year. And this was like August or something, maybe July. And I said, that's okay. I said, I need to get my ducks in a row out there. And so I did. I said, why don't we push it towards the end of the year? That way it'll be less of a hit on the budget. And I came and I started here. And he asked me in the interview process, what would you be able to do for senior friendship centers? And I said, CPR. I'm great at communications. I'm a great professional. I know my work, and I'm really good at relationships. That's the CPR I was going to give the organization. And afterwards, he said, that was good. How did you come up with that? And I said, I thought of it ahead of time.
Yes. Well, it's like PCPR, prepared, right? You were ready to go. So you've been in this role for some time as a leader of this organization. How do you define leadership, Erin? What does leadership mean to you?
Well, I think leadership is less about talking and more about example. I think when I want people to develop their own leadership skills, I want them to see it exemplified, not just in me, but I want the other leaders around me to exemplify what we expect. It's a lot like parenting. You don't use bad language and expect your children not to use bad language. And same thing. So I really like to compare it to that. I think leadership is building other people up around you and strengthening, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so building others around you creates, if you have strong everything around you, then it lifts up the whole organization and mission.
Yeah, the parenting thing is comes up pretty regularly on the From the Corner Office podcast when you talk about leadership, because you're constantly modeling good examples. As we're recording here in mid-October, just recently I had a thing where I got frustrated with something and kind of sort of almost lost my temper. But my son was nearby, and I wanted to consciously remember that he feeds off what I do, and how I react to certain situations. So that's leadership too. It sounds like what you're saying.
Absolutely. And in the
Yeah.
workplace, people are watching you all the time. They're listening and watching you all the time, even when you don't want them to watch and listen. So you have to just be on always. And you have to walk your talk. You have to live by what you're preaching. And so that's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that I think is good leadership.
100%. And how have you, or learned or sort of grown this leadership style? Who's influenced you in terms of people and books? How have you become the leader that you are today?
There's not one book that stands out to me. They've all contributed. I would say it's more my relationships with my bosses. My former boss, Bob Carter. My boss before that at Longboat was Amy Drake. Both wonderful, wonderful human beings, and still very much like my older siblings. They're always. I stay in touch with them. We have lunch regularly. I call them when I want to bounce ideas. I just have the greatest respect. I kid Amy that she taught me all the things I need to not do in a leadership role, because she was a workaholic, and that's where I got my work ethic from, watching her and working with her. And when you're in hotel and resort world, there's no Monday through Friday 9 to 5. It's a 24/7 operation. It's like being in hospital. And so, gosh, we were at work all the time. We were at work till 9 o'clock at night. We were at work on Saturdays and Sundays. There was a very blurry line between home and work. That was bad, and I knew it was bad. When I came here, I tried to get my life more in balance. But Bob was great, because Bob was the one that said to me, "Listen, kid, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. Don't risk all of this at your own health,
Yeah.
your own health's expense."
How do you
And
deal
so
with that
that's
as a leader now, in the context of, this is something that's come up a couple of times as with me as a leader at the Observer Media Group, where your workhorses are doing so much good work and you're guarding against them being that workaholic or doing too much, but they're also producers for you in whatever role that you have. As a leader, how have you balanced that?
that's hard, because I always tell them, don't do what I do. Don't watch me, because that's not healthy. It's not healthy. I think I think just reminding people that at the end of the day, this is a job. This is a job. Your family is always going to come first, always. If somebody comes to me and says something about their spouse, their parent, their kid, I say, you go. That's the most important thing. This is a job, and we will all cover for you. But when you have people that produce like that, I love up on them. I just make sure they feel loved and cared for. But I also am in their ear saying, take some time off, take a vacation, because when you come back, all this will be here. There's no
Yes.
bodies on operating tables,
Yes.
because God knows that there'd be dead bodies all over the place, right?
Yes. It's the blessing and the curse. I think our fields are not similar in many ways, but they are similar in that there's another newspaper the next Friday for us in print, and there's another online version the next day. And for you, there's another case, patient, or person, somebody, situation that you have to deal with every day anyway.
Always going to be something. And the good thing is, when you build a strong team culture, if somebody's on the bench for a football game or a basketball game, the rest of the team can step in and cover. It's not all on one person. And sometimes I think we forget that. We walk around with a cell phone in our hands all the time like we're running a third world country. We're not. It's not, it's really not that important, And the older I get, the more I realize it's not, none of it's that important. The most important thing is our health and our family. And I love my job and I love my work. But at the end of the day, it is a job, it's work. And I tell our staff the same thing. Don't forget to play and have fun, because my perfect work environment is dream big, get stuff done, have fun, and no drama. Where that Venn diagram intersects, no drama. And we had our all staff retreat this week, and our HR director put this together and handed it out to everybody so they could see this is Erin's perfect workplace. Dream big, get stuff done, have fun, but in the middle, no drama. Isn't that great?
Yes. Love it. You had the X out in the, you had the circles, and then in the no drama, for people who can't see it, it's a circle with the word drama and a line through it. So it's like no drama. I love it. I'm going to steal that for sure. And maybe this is part of that answer, but what's a lesson that you, or sort of a approach, a strategy that you have now to leadership that you wish you knew 10 years ago, 15 years ago, earlier in your career?
Slow down. Slow the heck down. I mean, I was going at such a pace. And when Bob said to me, kid, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, I now know what he meant. That I'm not gonna get it all done in a day. It'll all get done. And just do the important stuff first. I think I would just tell myself to slow down. Slow down, because what you miss in the hustle bustle and feeling like you have to get everything done, you miss poignant, special moments with human beings that you never get a chance to go back and redo.
On a different subject, but still leadership, but a sort of different aspect of leadership. When you're doing all these things in an organization, there's going to be conflict. How do you address, deal with, handle, whether it's, you mentioned no drama, but it's going to happen, right? So whether it's a personal conflict or it's a difficult conversation that you have to have with an employee that didn't, muster up the way that you think he or she could have. How do you handle those conversations?
I actually love those conversations. Most people run away from them. I think the quicker you do it, the kinder you are about it. Understanding we're all just humans. We all screw up. We all make mistakes. But the quicker you do it and the kinder you are about it, the better the outcome. If you let it fester and you ignore it and look away and let it go on too long, it plays havoc on that person, on your relationship, on the impact of people around them, on the team. It can drag morale into the drains. So I do that. And one thing I try to do is make it very fair. I firm, fair, and consistent are my management style. I'm firm, I'm fair, and I'm consistent. But I do everything I do with love and with some humor. And at the end of it, if I can hug somebody and we laugh a little bit and they walk out of the room, it's okay. No, nobody died. It's all right. Even if I have to fire you, it's okay. I've had many people that I've fired come back and say to me, that was the nicest firing I've ever had. Or I'm so glad you did fire me because I actually found out where I needed to be.
Yes. Yeah. You're holding them accountable, right? It's, people fire themselves to a large extent in most cases, and you're holding them accountable to those rules. And you mentioned
they're in the wrong role. They're just doing the wrong job because it was a job at the time. And then they realize, I'm not good at this, or I really don't like this. I don't enjoy this. But they keep trudging along because, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, or whatever they say. But honestly,
you mentioned something else I think is really important. I don't know if it's necessarily overlooked, but certainly important, is to give that person the opportunity to speak as well. That sometimes I forget that in those conversations because I want to get everything that is on my head out, but it's so important to give them that voice. It's something I've learned from one of my mentors at the Observer Media Group, Kat Wingert, our executive editor and COO, in terms of having those conversations. It sounds like that's something you do as well, that give people their voice.
When you're talking with someone about whether it's a conflict you're trying to resolve, or whether it's just maybe the annual evaluation, or somebody comes to you with an issue or a complaint or a problem they want to solve, the most important thing I've learned to ask is there anything else? And I promise you they'll say no. And then if you're just quiet long enough, they'll think of one more thing. And I let them go. And then at the end of that, I'll say, is there anything else? And I'll say, no, I think that's it. And then they'll say, well, there is one more thing. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to say,
Yes.
hey, is there anything else? Anything you didn't ask? Yeah.
It's that's the reporter question. At the end of every interview, I always ask, is there anything else I didn't ask you about? What else am I missing? Definitely.
And maybe I did learn that in journalism school because I went to J school and I did a lot of string reporting. So I know, and maybe that is where I learned that, but it comes in handy in management.
It sure does. That's relevant actually to as we're getting toward the end here. What role does storytelling play in your leadership? I always love just chatting with you because we have good stories, and that's what we do at the Observer is tell stories. But for you personally, what role does storytelling play in leadership?
Takes it out of the personal and puts it into the abstract or on someone else. And I love storytelling. I love analogy. I love to use analogy. And I probably overuse analogy, but I do feel very much it's like, the parables, you tell a parable and it's really not about that. It's really about the underlying message, but I love storytelling. And when you run a nonprofit that has a mission and a history like Senior Friendship Centers, we've got a million stories to tell. But one of my favorite stories to tell is about how we came to be. And it's just like when my kids were little, they would always want me to tell them, what was I like when I was a baby? Tell me about the day I was born. Tell me about, and I would joke that with my daughter, she was all cheek. And I told her, well, when you were born, you were just a head. And you were just a gigantic, chubby head. And then your neck popped out and your shoulders, and I told her all this. Yeah. And to this day, she's almost 39 years old, and she'll tell her nieces, when I was born, I was just a head. But I love to tell those Genesis stories of how we came to be and why we are like we are. What's our family legend? What's our family lore? When we did our all staff retreat Monday, I had probably 20% of people in the room have been with us for less than 2 years. And I thought, maybe they know it, maybe they don't. But here, listen to the story of how we came to be. And it's a great story.
Yeah, so important. 100% agreed. One last leadership question. Have you ever had, as a leader, imposter syndrome? And how do you handle it?
You know what you do? You surround yourself with really smart people. You read voraciously. You listen and you take a lot of notes. You associate yourself with smart people. And it rubs off. It does rub off on you after a while. And I think any of us who have experienced that imposter syndrome also remember the day we opened our mouths and we thought, I actually know what I'm talking about. I'm not faking it anymore. It's happening.
Yeah.
I've arrived.
I do bring something.
Oh, heck yeah.
Awesome. Erin, as we're in here getting into as crazy as it sounds, because it's, as I said, mid-October and still sweltering hot in Florida, but we are getting close to holiday season, end of the year, things like that. When you're thinking about 2026, what is top of mind for you? What's new and exciting happening at Senior Friendship Centers next year?
A couple of things. We are kind of in this growth mindset. We want to try to serve more people in the region. And so we're looking to the underserved areas of our region to see how do we get services and programs. How are we using technology to reach the unreached so far? And then also reimagining our centers. So our two big centers, the Sarasota Center was built in 88. The Venice Center was built in 1990. And our goal is to modernize and reimagine those spaces. So they're truly flexible spaces to serve the future generations of older adults. But that's kind of where we are. We're actually putting a strategic plan together right now. We got the bones and we're putting the meat on the bones. It's exciting.
Love it. That's very exciting. Awesome. This is great. Thank you, Erin McLeod, President and CEO of Senior Friendship Centers in Sarasota, for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast. Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.